So the article, Pastor Amanchukwu says, this is a good opportunity to also have it noted that the number one driver of children entering the foster care system is not abuse. It's poverty-related neglect, according to Joe Knitting. This must be emphasized. Most kids placed in foster care are taken away because their parents are poor. This should alarm and upset everyone, especially when taking into account that the cycle of poverty starts and ends, wait for it, drum roll please, Democrat policies, i.e. Lyndon B. Johnson's so-called Great Society. Let me read that to you again, because I don't think y'all are making the connection. And sometimes you need your old auntie to come and just make it plain like this, because a lot of y'all, our predecessors have done us a disservice by forcing us to look at the civil rights operation, not the movement, I call it an operation, as if without that, Black people would have had no hope in this country. But what they don't realize is that they're just pulling the wool over your eyes. Many of the things that happened during the 60s and the civil rights operation were some of the worst things that could have happened to us. Some of the worst. But let me read that again. Most kids placed in foster care are taken away because their parents are poor. This should alarm and upset everyone, especially when taking into account that the cycle of poverty starts and ends with Democrat policies. Lyndon B. Johnson's so-called Great Society. So not only has the Democrat Party caused the problem that has resulted in nearly 500,000 children being trapped in foster care, but the Democrats in charge of the federal government are now fighting to ensure that these vulnerable children are bombarded with pro-transgenderism propaganda and no Christian can protect them. Now you got to put your light up under a bushel. And I can't tell you how many so-called Christians who identify with the Democrat Party, they'll be on board with this and say, well, we can't force our beliefs, on these children. Little bit by little, they just strip it away. They did the same thing with abortion. You got so-called Black Christian Democrats who say, well, I personally think abortion is wrong, but we can't tell people what to do. So they go along with it. And then they do the same thing with the LGBT, the whole gay agenda. Well, I personally, I don't agree with sodomy, but we can't tell, free will. We can't tell people how to live their life. So, if the next pastoral candidate wants to be a homosexual man, then, I don't see what's wrong with it. That's what he do in his private time. I just want him to, bring me a word on Sunday. How many people have you heard come up with these dumb, ignorant, unbiblical arguments? A lot. They can't even think in proper categories anymore because they've abandoned the authority and the sufficiency of this. And they've picked up the indoctrination and the parroted messages that they're hearing from their melanated, Marxist-minded Black pastors who get up in their pulpits every week and try to sell them that this is good and holy and righteous, and that you can separate your Christian worldview from the political policies that you support. They've convinced you that you can do that, and you can't. Keeping Christians from serving as caretakers or adopting foster children is only one part of the equation. The other is how Christians are being kept out of social services. The degree to which secularists dominate social services and are hostile to Christians was on display in a recent case before a UK tribunal that resulted in the judges refusing to reinstate a devout Christian social worker who was denied a position over his biblical views on homosexuality. One of the judges reportedly said that there was legitimate concerns over the potential impact of the Christian plaintiff's publicly known views on the mental health of patients who identify as LGBT. It's the Trojan horse. And so many of you are so steeped in your blackness. How you unhitch from this now? How are you going to wiggle your way out of this now? Do you now see and understand why for the past few months I have been saying you have to choose Christ over color, character over constructs, and country over these retarded categories? You have to, because if you don't, you are going to find yourself siding with wickedness, siding with the kingdom of darkness, and then God is going to be out here looking at you like, what you out here doing? Now you're a party to the wickedness. How do you explain this? It's the policies for me. But my question to some of you is, why do you have the world's approval? Like, if you have the world's approval, something is wrong. That would mean that they are identifying you as one of them.